Hello, this webinar is part of BWG's Your Life series, a series dedicated to helping our clients learn more about the topics that impact their financial lives. I'm Christina James, a certified financial planner and financial advisor at BWG Wealth Management. Today we are talking about why you might want to consider a life plan community. I have a special guest joining me, Christina Pear. Christina is from The Mather, a new luxury life plan community being built in Tysons Corner, Virginia. It is anticipated that The Mather will be ready for residents in 2023. As financial advisors and fiduciaries for our clients, we often get asked about how to plan for aging and retirement and what options might be available. One of those options is a life plan community that offers a continuum of care starting with independent living and then transitioning into assisted living and nursing home care. Since this is a topic that our clients are curious about, we thought it would be beneficial to have a conversation with Christina to learn more about what the pros, cons are of a life plan community and what questions you should be asking as you consider them. Without further ado, Christina, would you begin by telling us about each one of these communities? Christina?
Well, thank you, Christina, for having me.
It's a little confusing with the two Christinas.
And I'm pleased to be here today and share and talk a little bit about what are the different options available, because it can be confusing for the consumer, and there's a lot of new different models emerging as well. First, just a little bit about The Mather, since you mentioned that. The Mather is a forward-thinking life plan community for 62 and older, planned for the Tysons Corner area. Our vision is to create a dynamic and engaging life plan community with a wonderfully walkable lifestyle, a little more of that urban feel. Communities have tended to become out in the outer suburbs, often behind a gate. And this is a different vision for being in the thick of things, where all the action is, and yet also providing that continuum of care for the future.
That's great. What exactly, you've mentioned life plan community. I know I mentioned that it's the subject of our thing, but what is it? What is a life plan community?
Life plan community is also known as continuing care retirement community. So you may be more familiar with the CCRC terminology, but in the past few years, there's been a nationwide kind of evolution. And so think of life plan community as the new language for a new generation. So it actually replaces the term continuing care retirement community. So you'll start to see communities changing. Many already have across the country, changing that title of continuing care retirement community to life plan. But in essence, it's the same thing. It is offering predominantly independent living apartments with the full continuum, which again will vary from each community, but essentially assisted living residences, skilled nursing, memory support. Those are all components of a traditional CCRC model community.
And how is a life plan community like The Mather different than a traditional nursing home or retirement community? I always think of those gated 55 plus retirement communities in Florida. You know, how is this different?
Well, again, there are a lot of different options out there, and no two seem to be alike, which makes it a little bit more challenging. But I think in general, when we think about the field of retirement living, in the past, people thought of nursing homes or retirement homes as a place that one went to because there was a need. It wasn't something that you looked forward to. It was something that sometimes came out of a crisis. And so it was something that people oftentimes didn't plan for, didn't want to think about. And there's been a real change and a shift, and both, I think, in our industry, but also in all of us as people, how we're living, how we're aging, our longevity, and what we expect or want or desire for the future. In the past, our parents oftentimes stayed in their homes. That was the preferred choice because, quite honestly, nursing homes and the more institutional feeling retirement homes weren't very desirable. So it was better to stay at home, or at least it seemed or felt better at the time to stay at home. The big evolution and shift, and we have the boomers are coming,
Yeah.
as many people are aware, is that communities are getting less and less medical model and less the idea of a facility, and really more now lifestyle driven and choice driven, and giving people options and opportunities to stay very much engaged, connected, and challenged intellectually, spiritually, physically, so that you can have not only great longevity, but also quality of life. We want to continue living in a way that is dynamic and that keeps us going and keeps us intrigued. So I think today's vision for retirement communities, and when I mention forward thinking, is to create environments in which people thrive. And so perhaps the yard work becomes less desirable and managing the home maintenance. But I still want to have a wonderful platform for living. I still want a place where I can turn the key and go. And I can travel and I can spend time with family and I can pursue cooking classes and cultural arts and all those other things that maybe I didn't have time to do when I was working full time. So what does that look like and how do we make that a reality? So today's forward-thinking communities, I think, are embracing this new generation who seeks that and wants to create that lifestyle. But again, making sure that those all-important safety nets are there for the future, because we don't know what the next 5, 10, 15 years can bring.
Right. And, you know, when people are considering a place like the Mather or a life plan community, what age are people starting to consider this? And, you know, are there qualifications that they need to meet and be able to meet?
Great question. So again, I think typically in the past, it was often the idea that I will wait to pursue that change in my living situation until I'm much older.
My kids say, "Mom, Dad, you need to start considering this."
Or I have a fall. You know, suddenly I have an injury, and those steps and stairs are no longer going to work for me, and I've got to go down to the laundry room.
Right.
So it could be practical, or it could be, you know, situational reasons that might make that change. But I think what we are seeing now is the trends. I've dubbed it the proactive planners. So people are planning much more proactively about what should we do and where might we move to? What does that look like and feel like? Much the same way that we research college campuses for our families, for our children, a lot of active retirees or soon-to-be retirees are researching what are the options, what are they? And I think that's a really important thing to do. Make sure that you are informed and you understand what does the landscape look like for me in my area? What are the options? And go and visit them and see what resonates with you. And you'll know. And ask a lot of good questions. But there are also qualifications as you referenced. And so again, it's important, and I think this, again, group of proactive planners is viewing it through a different lens and realizing that we should plan ahead. We should not wait like our parents did so that our children don't have to swoop in and help us in a crisis.
Are you sure you're not a financial planner? I feel like we're coaching our clients on this all the time, saying we've got to get a plan in place. We have to have a plan in place. And, you know, something I've recently been saying is I'm not just a fiduciary, I'm a life fiduciary. We're helping you anticipate before you even know you have a need. So putting things in place, and I think I'm going to start using that college phrase, that you need to start treating it like, you know, visiting college campuses. You need to check the places out.
Find out what it's all about.
Yeah.
My personal mantra in my career in senior living has been plan well to live well. And we plan for so many stages of life, where we want to live, what we want to study, what kind of work we want to do, even the size of our families and who we're going to marry and what kind of house we want to live in. But we forget to plan for this really critical stage of life, which can be really wonderfully exciting and vibrant, but we need to plan well to live well. So the idea of going out and researching, I think, is critical, and understanding the financial models, understanding, just like you would get pre-qualified for a home, you need to understand and be pre-qualified for the community you want to move to.
Right.
Part of that is understanding where are my assets and income and what are the requirements and price points of a particular retirement community, and does that work together? Many communities also will have a healthcare requirement or qualification. At the Mather, because we are offering life care, which helps provide supportive services for the future without increased expense, there is a health qualification. But by qualifying now, you have the security and assurance that when the Mather opens, you will be able and eligible to move in and won't be disqualified because of a change in health status. But each community is different. Most communities that are established will want to qualify you when it's time to move in. So if you get on a wait list and you wait for 3 or 4 or 5 years and something changes, you may find yourself ineligible.
And so not again, being able to qualify.
That's right.
And I've actually experienced that with some of my clients where unfortunately one spouse was diagnosed with early dementia, and they hadn't been thinking about this, and then when they went to go take the exam, he didn't pass. It progressed much faster than they anticipated, and really there wasn't an option then for them to stay together, because the only places that would accept would be memory care. So I think that's very important to consider that, and getting in earlier versus waiting and having less options, especially for the spouse too, who might still be very vibrant and active.
Most couples, obviously we want to stay together. And so you need to think long before you need care. I think one of the things I hear all too often, year in and year out, I'd be a wealthy woman if I had $1 every time somebody said, I'm not ready yet, or we're fine, everything's fine, we don't need to think about that yet. And actually the time to think and to research and to visit and to kick the tires, so to speak, is when everything is great, because you want to make that transition when you decide and you find the right situation for yourself. You want to make that transition while you are fully in control of everything, when life is coming along, because selling a home, moving, all of those things are stressors. Doesn't matter for 35, 45, 55, 65. It's stressful, and it's always better to do those things when you are steering your own ship and you have choice and time and options. So planning long before you ever think. And I find that a lot of our clients will go and tell their friends, hey, we just went to learn about the Mather. And their friends will say, well, why did you do that? You don't need that. You're so young. But the idea, and I think the message that this new group is trying to share with their peers, is we all should be looking at this. We all should be planning. There will not be enough spaces and places for all of us. And if we don't plan well to live well, it's not going to happen.
Right. What are some things that are just immediate disqualifiers that you've seen? Or are there any? Or is it all situation-based?
A lot of it is situational. When it comes to financial, it's a little more black and white. It is about, does this make sense? Now, sometimes somebody might have their eye on an available residence in a retirement community, and they're thinking through the lens of real estate, which is, I want the biggest, I want all this square footage. And you might have a situation where that particular price point over the length of time, particularly if I'm a little younger, doesn't work, doesn't make sense. So we always want to try to pivot a little bit from thinking as though we're buying real estate into thinking about the value of a life plan community. Why are we making this decision? We could just go and buy a condo and enjoy one level living, but that again is one faceted approach to aging. What happens later on? We talked about the separation. We talked about a crisis. And will you have control over where somebody receives care? The beauty of the life plan community is that you can have a beautiful, stylish home base to entertain, to come and go, to live a great life and continue what you've always enjoyed, but having the security of the assisted living, the memory support, the skilled nursing, rehab, getting you back on your feet again if you do hit a bump in the road. Those things become critically invaluable. I mean, it's just, you don't realize how important those things are.
And the friendships too.
The socialization.
I've seen some of my clients go through that, then one spouse passes away, and it's just so comforting for the children to know, oh, dad's gone, but mom still has a bunch of friends still there that she's playing cards with and going to the mall with and doing
going to the theater, traveling, getting a group together, and we're all going to go over and spend, a long weekend in Paris. Why not? We're going to go to New York. we're going to Arena Stage, we're going to Wolf Trap, we're going to the Kennedy Center. We're going to go spend the day in Annapolis, and
Now, at the Mather, are they ordering Ubers, or how does this all happen? Or private planes? I know it's luxury, but how are they getting out and about?
Well, at the Mather, you can bring your own vehicle, but we are in a walkable neighborhood. You'll walk to restaurants, you walk to the Ritz-Carlton, you walk to the Galleria. You can walk to the Silver Line Metro. We'll have shuttle buses that'll do a Tyson's route. You jump on and jump off on the hour, every hour to go around. We'll have a private sedan. We'll have groups that are going to go out to a wide range of cultural arts and music venues in this area. But people are also still, as I said, traveling, consulting.
Right.
And so they're going to turn the key and go, and they're going to, the driver can take them to the airport, and when they come back, the concierge can make sure that their refrigerator is restocked with fresh fruit and milk and maybe a fresh loaf of bread from Whole Foods, because they're coming in late on a Sunday night and they might be a little jet lagged the next day. So we want to make sure that there's a lot of amenities and lifestyle features at their fingertips. So when they're globetrotting, fantastic, we'll keep the lights on. And when you're back home, you've got restaurants, you've got an indoor saltwater pool and workout classes, and jump on the treadmill or go in the back and there's walking trails. There's a place for you and your pets to go outside, maybe take a Tai Chi class on the lawn. There'll be a wide range of opportunities for people to enjoy. And they can Uber as well, to wherever they want to go. But I think this core group is so active and dynamic, and their philosophy and their intent is to stay that way, hopefully for the long term.
Oh, that's great. I feel like they should come out with one of these for millennials or just parents. I don't have time to mow my yard either.
I would say that there are a lot of parallels between millennials and what they desire in their lifestyle and what active retirees are looking for today. And we're hearing from people that while they've enjoyed the large home in the suburbs and the lawn and all of that, this new urban lifestyle has a little more edge to it, easier connectivity, less car dependent, and again, built-in friendships, living among interesting and interested people who, like themselves, have lived really interesting lives and want something that has high style and great security for the future. And I think that's a winning combination.
I do too. That sounds like a great place to be. What age are people typically considering? I know you mentioned some of them might still be working. When are people thinking about it typically?
Well, I think nowadays, again, trending a little bit younger. It used to be 80s and 90s.
Okay.
I've met some really fantastic 95-year-olds who have told me, I just don't want to live with a lot of old people. But I think the trend now, again, with this proactive planner group is, and we're seeing it at the Mather in terms of those that have joined the interest list who want to be among the first to be able to choose a future apartment home when we get to that point, are in their 60s and early 70s. So it's great to see it, and they are looking, again, to live among interesting peers as well. They want that lifestyle, and it's no different than any other stage of life. We all feel, and nowadays look younger than we used to, and so I think you're going to see that average age trending down a little bit as people look at the long view and realize the value. If I get in when I'm young and active, I have a great lifestyle, and I can continue to live as we always have, but also know that whatever changes may come, and unfortunately will come to a good number of us, we have put in place all the supports and all the continuity of our lifestyle and access, and those assurances are really important.
Definitely. What if someone has long-term care insurance? They were one of those proactive planners. How do you know if a life plan community will accept it? When is the insurance triggered? How does that work?
So many people have long-term care insurance policies, as we know, and each policy is a little different. We certainly encourage people to get reacquainted with their policy and work with perhaps the organization or the individual that helped plan that for them, so they can we often get that and we put it away in a folder in a file and we don't think about it again because we've got it.
Right.
But at the time of planning for a retirement community, you want to revisit that and see what are the parameters. Is there an elimination period? It's often 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the length of payout? Is there a daily dollar amount? Does it increase in value each year? So how does all that work? So it's good to revisit that. But most communities, one would utilize that policy at the point in time when an individual needs long-term care. So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm living independently, I'm not using my policy. But if my husband suddenly has an event that requires, for the long term, not kind of a short recuperation period, but for the long term, skilled nursing or memory support, for example, that's when you're going to look at that policy, probably kicking in around day 91. Most policies have a 90-day elimination period.
Mm-hmm.
So while you are paying for these higher costs now that this person has round-the-clock care and support and services, after 90 days, in most instances, the policy will kick in and start reimbursing you because your fees may go from $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month when you're independent to suddenly $13,000 plus for one person, as opposed to a couple paying
Wow.
$5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. So now you've got one person in the apartment paying a monthly fee, and now you've got the second person in a private, hopefully, space at the Mather, their private suite. You're paying whatever the market rate is at that time. Right now, it can run anywhere depending on where you are in the country, and is it a private room or a shared space, and obviously the quality or caliber of the nursing care facility that one is living in. It can go from 11, 12, 13,000 plus a month for skilled nursing.
I know when we've done financial planning and we look at a long-term care scenario, it can be, if it's not planned for properly, it can be devastating to a plan.
Imagine two people
Mm-hmm.
both needing at some point in the future skilled nursing,
Right.
and occupying two private spaces and what that looks like. So with the long-term care insurance policy, that's designed to help reimburse and offset some of that. Doesn't necessarily cover all of the new expenses that one will have, but it will cover some. At the Mather, we're offering, in other communities, you'll find them through the country, we're offering life care
Mm-hmm.
as well as a plan that works with the long-term care insurance policy. But a life care continuing care retirement community or a life care life plan community means that when you transition to assisted living, memory support, or nursing care, your monthly fees will not suddenly double, triple, or quadruple. They'll stay essentially the same. They'll have a slight uptick, maybe for a few incidentals, but that's it.
Right.
So you're protecting and preserving your assets, and you've got predictable costs for the future. So for a lot of people, if you don't have a long-term care insurance policy, that life care plan is really a wonderful option to preserve your assets.
Mm-hmm. How are people transitioning into these places? Because there's typically a deposit or some sort of entrance fee, and then you're paying a monthly fee. Is that correct? How do they finance that, and what could they potentially anticipate as a cost?
So again, lots of different types of communities out there, but when we're talking about the life plan community or the CCRC, you are going to typically be paying a one-time entrance fee
Mm-hmm.
and an ongoing monthly fee.
Mm-hmm.
And that entrance fee is generally based on the size of the apartment, home, or residence that you're going to occupy,
Mm-hmm.
and also whether there's one person or two people. At the Mather, we'll have a 90% refund on that entrance fee. So while you're paying that entrance fee, it will come back to you or to your estate or trust, 90%. So if you put down $1 million, $900,000 will always come back to your
Mhm.
estate or trust. And then you've got a monthly fee. Monthly fees, again, are going to range based on the square footage
Right.
of the home that you occupy, and it can also be affected by whether you're doing a traditional monthly fee that does not include future care, or if you're opting for a life care monthly fee, which will include future care. So
Mhm.
you may pay a little bit more than your neighbor does but it assures you that when a time comes that you or a spouse need higher care levels, again, you're not going to be having to pay market rate. You're essentially going to pay the same monthly fee that you did, even though you now occupy 2 places in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So monthly fees will also include and cover a wide range of services. And it can be maintenance-free living and housekeeping. It can be flexible dining for the different restaurants that you would find. It can be your fitness classes and your lectures and jumping on and off the shuttle bus and going to jump in the pool. So those things are built in. Utilities,
so while it may
heating.
seem more than the rent on a traditional apartment, it's actually including quite a bit.
It's building in so much that you don't
Mm-hmm.
even realize. And you don't have to pay electric bill, water bill, gas bill, cable bill, Wi-Fi bill, all those things that we pay in our homes, including 24-hour reception. There's always somebody around. If your guests are coming in late, your family, your kids are flying in, and they're coming in at midnight, there's somebody to greet them. There are life safety systems built into retirement communities so that if there is an emergency at 3 a.m., you're not kind of flying solo.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things that people don't realize are built into those monthly fees. So you have to kind of look at your expenses over a month, over a quarter, and over a 12-month period,
Mm-hmm.
and look at all the different things that I pay for in my current living situation, and realize that a lot of that is bundled in to your monthly fees. And if my brand new dishwasher goes on the fritz, I don't have to worry about it because maintenance will come and repair and replace it. And I can have somebody come and clean the apartment and press and launder my sheets and make up the beds just like in a nice resort.
Again, why are they not offering this for millennials? Because I would really enjoy those services.
It's not a bad lifestyle.
No.
And I have had many an adult child say, what's the minimum age? Because I'm really interested in this. It's a great lifestyle.
Just a few more questions and then we'll wrap up. But what due diligence should consumers be doing to evaluate a particular community? What questions should they be asking and looking at?
Well, I think as I was referencing earlier, be an educated consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Go out there and try to compare apples to apples. It's not always easy, and understand what is the difference between active adult, which can be a gated community, 55 plus, and give me nice one-level living in a clubhouse, but it doesn't give me a continuum of care.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, again, totally different than just assisted living or nursing home care, which is going to feel and be a very different environment than a life plan community. So just understanding what are the different options is first. When you go and visit a community, and there are a lot of resources where you can find different questions and questionnaires to ask, but you want to obviously take a good look around. It's kind of a head and the heart combination decision initially, just to narrow down the scope of what you like. Talk to them about the lifestyle features and think about those before you go. What's important? How do you live your life now? How do you spend your days? What is your vision for the future? And do those communities offer those lifestyle amenities?
Mm-hmm.
If I like to swim at my local club, can I continue to do that where I make a move? How close is it to the things that I currently enjoy? That's important as well. What is the occupancy of a community? If it's an established community, really important to know what is the occupancy. And what is the wait list?
Right.
And what is the wait list time? Because a number is just a number, but what is the time frame generally that I might have to wait before I might be able to make a move? Because I need to think on my side, what does that look like in terms of my home? When am I going to have my home ready for market?
Mm-hmm.
When do I want to move? So those are all important things to consider. But I think first is really trying to think about what are those things that are important to you in your life and that you want to continue enjoying as you go forward. And see about if you know someone who's been there, who's lived there, who knows the organization. Always good. The best referrals are those that come from people that have moved or are making plans and have done the due diligence, and they can share their wisdom and knowledge with you.
Yeah.
About what they looked for and why they made a particular decision.
What about the financial health of these organizations? Because you're giving them a very significant deposit, essentially, and with the hope that it comes back to you or to your beneficiaries at a later date. How do you evaluate that?
I think it's really important to, again, one of the hallmarks I always say is occupancy, particularly if it's an established community. What is their occupancy? What are they running at? That high occupancy is a really good reflection of the health of an organization, that they're full and they have a long waiting list. What is the history of the organization? How long has it been in business? Are they brand new, or do they have a long track record of established success? Is there an endowment? At the Mather, we have over a $500 million endowment. So what is set up and what are the financial safety nets for me if I have the good fortune to outlive my resources? Can that community continue to support me with some type of supporting fund or scholarship fund? And many of the communities have that, which is also very important. People will look at not-for-profit and for-profit and look at mission, vision, and values of the organization. And many communities will give you a disclosure statement. You know, there's different documents that they should share with you so that you can have that consumer confidence in the organization. But certainly looking at history and, you know, what that looks like in the disclosure statement, who's involved, who's supporting it. Those are important things just to be aware of. Again, be informed.
Right, yeah, be educated, at least know what you're looking for. This is a big decision.
And communities are structured to be safe. They're designed and built, and there's a lot of oversight. I think sometimes think, well, oh, they're just going to go, they're going to disappear, they're going to go belly up. But there's a lot of infrastructure built into retirement communities and state level oversight and Department of Aging oversight and strong investments that those entrance fees are put into so those funds can grow and be returned. And so there's a lot more behind the scenes. And I'm not a financial expert, but I can tell you after several decades in this field, it's really not communities going, as they say, belly up. They're good, they're solid, they're strong, but do your due diligence. Ask those critical questions about communities. Find out about their occupancy. Find out about their track records in their communities. And do they have an endowment? Do they have a safety net for me?
Right. Those are excellent questions to be asking. My last question for you, Christina, is what do you see as the biggest mistakes people make in planning for a transition to a retirement community or a life plan community, just in making that transition?
I would say to all of your listeners, two big mistakes. I guess the biggest one, I guess dovetails together, waiting too long. Waiting too long to think about the future. And the assumption, and this is kind of piggybacking onto that, the assumption is that when you're ready, the community will be standing there waiting for you and say, oh, we've got a beautiful apartment waiting for you. We've been holding it for you for the last 5 years. That's just not the reality. We know that the numbers of people 65 and older, 70 and older, 75 and older, this age wave is real. And so you have to be thinking that not only for myself, but there are many, many, many other people who are doing their due diligence, who are making plans. So if you don't make plans, you're going to find yourself without choices and options. And that's just never a good position to find yourself in. So don't wait too long. Start your research now. It's kind of like downsizing. If you're going to plan to sell your home in a few years, don't wait till the last 6 months to say, okay, let's roll up our sleeves and get this going. You want to start emptying those closets and sorting through things and going room by room and figuring out what do I love and what am I taking with me to my next adventure. And you want to make sure that you have a great plan so that you can look forward to it for the future. So do your due diligence, go out and visit, get on a waiting list. Most communities that are good and reputable have long wait lists. So it's never too soon to start to look. And don't assume that communities are waiting for you to come. There's enough other people who are planning and are going, and they're ready to go. So plan well to live well.
Thank you so much, Christina. I really enjoyed our conversation today, and I hope everyone else listening found it valuable. And if you have any questions, please reach out to your advisor at BWG. or you can contact Delaney Taggart at dtaggart@hightowerinvestors.com. But thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And if they want to learn more about the Mather, what is your website?
So our website is themathertysons.com.
Okay.
And it'll give you a great introduction to our exciting vision for the future. And we have every month informational seminars in the local area. So you can come and hear all about the plans. And you also learn from the questions that people ask.
Mm-hmm.
And we have opened an information design center. And so you can actually walk in and see a vision for the future. What will that future home look like? And where will it be? Because from our windows, you can actually see the building site for where the Mather is going to rise out of the ground. So,
Wow.
so we're really excited.
All very exciting, but thank you so much for all the information and tips you shared. Lots of nuggets. So plan well to live well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.